Today I fucked up by messing up a very important job interview. Happened about an hour ago and I'm still furious. I've been job hunting for ages now and haven't been able to get one. Closest I got was contract negotiations, then I was ghosted, but that's another story. Anyway, I came across the perfect job opportunity: company car, 3 days WFH, good salary, and I ticked every requirement. So I applied online and got called literally 10 minutes later. This was last week. A second interview is then set up for today and I spent all weekend preparing for it. Anyway, today is D-Day. The team's call comes in and I make the capital mistake of referring to the wrong company. Which in my mind makes sense because I'm applying everywhere, but they don't see it that way. In their eyes I'm not motivated enough and not fully committed. I don't even get a chance to explain that I'm unemployed and I'm applying everywhere before they wish me well and end the call. TLDR said the wrong company name during job interview and they discarded me on the spot. I interview people quite a bit in my role and stuff. This happens all the time. We laugh and move on, no big deal. The fact that they killed the interview because you got the company name wrong sounds like something else is going on. Maybe they are intending to fill internally, but company policy says they have to post the role. If they're genuinely upset by this, then you've dodged a bullet. I wouldn't get too hung up on it, learn the lesson and move on. The fact that they called you within 10 minutes of you submitting your application tells me they are desperate, although not so desperate they would overlook you saying the wrong company. I agree with others when they say being committed would mean working long hours with no extra pay. If they're that petty, they're probably a nightmare to work for. Hope you find something better soon. You dodged a bullet here. Not committed will translate into being expected to skip lunch breaks, staying late unpaid, taking on extra work for no extra pay. This is the kind of place that will burn you out and discard you when they squeezed as much work out of you as they can. Also, any hiring manager who thinks people only apply for one job needs to give their head a wobble. Oh, this is heartbreaking. This is an absolutely forgivable mistake. Shame on that company. Now I've gone for a walk and calmed down a bit. I think they were looking for any excuse to not hire me. Sucks, but nothing I can do about it. Get that one on Glassdoor. I had an interview with a current supplier. They claimed I was too supportive of my current employer. As a suppler you get challenged or I wouldn't be doing my job here. Recruiter was gone inside a year and the guy who got the job's a skiving ghost. Dodged that one, I feel. No worries. It's probably not worth working for those bastards anyways. Remember, you're also interviewing them. If a group of people can't understand an honest mistake, then you might be better off not calling them your colleagues. Sounds like you dodged a bullet with that one. If they aren't kind enough to disregard a simple mistake such as that, how much more so would they get onto you for little things if you landed the job? Write them an email and explain your side of story. Worst case they won't consider you, but best case they'll give you another chance. I once went to an interview 1 week before the interview was scheduled. Heard the day of the week on the voicemail, didn't compute the actual date in my brain properly. God, that was awkward. Nah, fuck this place. It would have ended up sucking us in some way. They probably would have micromanaged your WFH days in some shitty way. You're better off. They also called you immediately after you applied, which is another red flag. Fuck 'em. Apply again, to see if they're uncommitted enough to call you back without realizing they've already interviewed you once. Then point it out to them if they call for an interview. Dodged a bullet there, whoa. Sounds like a nightmare employer to work for. Why would a company that hasn't hired you yet expect you to be committed to them? Sorry brew, I'm in similar situation. I just finished my master's in information science in networking and cybersecurity and I'm applying everywhere. I live in Durham, North Carolina, where many tech companies are here and still can't get a job even for a smart high school student. Part of the issue is that I am an international student with a work authorization that permanents me to have only 3 months to get a job, or I should be going back to my country that I can't live in, smiling face with open mouth and cold sweat. Edit: I can't go back to my country because of some political issues. If it makes you feel better, I literally broke my spine at a job interview last year. But seriously, it sounds like you dodged a bullet here. A call back that fast? Either the interviewer has way too much time on their hands or they're really desperate. Maybe both. Either way, no good. You honestly dodged a bullet. Yeah, those are not the kind of people you want to work for. They're unprofessional and will probably have screaming fits at you over trivial nonsense. That's not messing up, that's unintentionally dodging a bullet. I actually did this once in a face-to-face interview. I assumed I was toast. They called me back for a second interview, at which I was out of my mind on cold medication, somehow still got hired over some other people. Job was a nightmare and I was let go after a month for reasons still not clear to me. What a roller coaster. That seems incredibly petty of them. Not fully committed. Bitch, I haven't even had the interview yet. I'll be honest, if a recruiter company got back with me so quickly after I applied, then I would be suspicious. I'd assume they are struggling to find candidates who would deal with their environment, or it's a scam. I mean, who gives a company car to someone who works from home 3 days per week unless it involves a lot of travel? A few years ago, I had a video interview for a firm in Asia while I was in the US. It was scheduled for Thursday at 7 p.m. I called precisely on time except forgot that Asia is 1 day ahead. It was Friday when I called. The response was as you might expect. This was a completely rookie mistake since I had been working in Asia for a decade by then, and one that, ironically, I haven't forgotten. I can only blame myself. I just placate that it was for the best. In truth, it was. Maybe the same will be true for you. I feel like if they had that many options, they wouldn't have contacted him 10 minutes after he applied. Probably dodged a bullet, honestly. That's wild. I know I work in a high turnover industry and things are a bit different, but I'm a recruiter for truck drivers, and I have to start nearly every call by giving them a breakdown of the company and job they already applied to because I know my application was likely one of 10 they filled out on the same day. I eventually started just doing it as habit because I could tell many drivers were embarrassed to tell me they didn't remember the job, but I don't blame them at all. I've perused my competitors' ads and honestly they all look exactly the same as mine, lol. I guess you didn't tick the being a fucking robot requirement. If you got called 10 minutes after you applied, and you aren't extremely educated and skilled in a niche field that is hard to find people, you dodged a bullet. There's a reason they were looking so desperately. In 10 years you'll look back at this and laugh. In 1996 I flew down to San Diego to interview with an up-and-coming telecommunications company. It would have been a dream job, but I flubbed it. I regretted that for a long time until I finally ended up to where I really wanted to be, which is where I am now. All regardless of whether I had that job or not. A serious company would tell you upfront, "Hi, this is X from Z, LLC." Every time I applied for a job and was called, the caller told me where they're calling from because they understand you might be applying to many places. Nobody ever called me out for asking them to tell me what company it was if they failed to mention it at first. Don't freak out too much. Looking for a job sucks, but you'll eventually find a better one that is serious enough to forgive an honest